Welcome to Study Smart, the weekly show for wine students who want to take their wine education to the next level. I'm your host, Gill Gordon Smith, and in this episode we're breaking down another important wine region. With exam strategies and techniques to help you reach the next level in your wine education, this is Study Smart. Welcome back. Today we move into Bordeaux, one of the most important wine regions in the world. And Bordeaux is incredibly important for WSET Level 3 because it teaches one major concept better than almost anywhere else: blending as a response to climate. Bordeaux is not a region built around one grape variety. It's built around balancing risk, managing vintage variation, and using different grapes to create consistency and structure. And almost everything in Bordeaux begins with the climate. Bordeaux sits in southwest France near the Atlantic Ocean. It's one of the largest fine wine regions in the world, both in production volume and commercial value. And around 90% of Bordeaux production is red wine. And most of those wines are blends rather than single varieties. Bordeaux is also famous for dry white wines and some of the world's most prestigious sweet wines, particularly from Sauternes. Bordeaux has a moderate maritime climate. The Atlantic Ocean moderates temperatures, creating relatively mild winters, warm summers, and a long growing season. Warm ocean currents can extend ripening into October, and this is extremely important because Cabernet Sauvignon is late ripening, and without a long growing season, it would struggle to fully ripen. The big problem, therefore, is variability, but the key word in Bordeaux is variability. Rainfall and humidity can vary dramatically between vintages and even within the same growing season. So this creates several major challenges, such as fungal disease, rot, dilution, poor fruit set, and inconsistent ripening. Rain during flowering can reduce yields, and rain before harvest can dilute flavours and damage fruit quality. The humidity also increases mildew pressure, botrytis risk, and vineyard disease risk. Because of this uncertainty, growers must constantly adapt. So this is where canopy management becomes very important. The growers manage leaf coverage to improve airflow, sunlight penetration, and drying after rainfall. This reduces disease pressure and helps grapes ripen more evenly. And importantly, blending becomes essential. Different grape varieties behave differently in difficult conditions, so blending helps producers balance structure, ripeness, acidity, and consistency. So what are the major red grape varieties? Well, firstly, Merlot. It's the most widely planted grape in Bordeaux. It ripens earlier than Cabernet Sauvignon and performs well in cooler conditions. Merlot produces softer tannins, fuller-bodied, red fruits, plum fruits, and approachable texture. And this is why Merlot dominates on the cooler right bank. Cabernet Sauvignon ripens later and needs warmth, sunlight, and well-drained soils. It contributes tannin, acidity, blackcurrant fruit, structure, and aging potential. And that's why Cabernet Sauvignon is especially associated with the warmer gravel soils of the left bank. Cabernet Franc ripens more easily than Cabernet Sauvignon, and it contributes perfume, floral aromatics, freshness, and red fruit character. It's especially important in Saint-Emilion. Petit Verdot is used in smaller amounts. It ripens very late and requires warm conditions, but when successful, it contributes deep colour, tannin, spice, and concentration. Soils are one of the most important factors in Bordeaux. The left bank is dominated by gravel soils, and these soils drain quickly, reduce excessive vine vigour, absorb heat, and slowly release warmth overnight, so very much ideal for Cabernet Sauvignon. The right bank contains more clay and limestone. Clay retains water and remains cooler, so this suits the earlier ripening Merlot. Limestone contributes drainage, freshness, and acidity retention. So this is a perfect example of the soil influencing the grape suitability. Bordeaux also produces both dry and sweet white wines. The key white grapes are Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon. Sauvignon Blanc contributes high acidity, citrus, herbal notes, and aromatic intensity. Semillon contributes body, texture, waxy richness, and aging potential. And importantly, Semillon is highly susceptible to noble rot, and this is critical for sweet wine production in Sauternes. Sauternes is one of the world's great sweet wine regions. The morning mist that you'll find in this part of the region is followed by warm afternoons, and that encourages Botrytis cinerea, or noble rot. Noble rot pierces the grape skins and causes water evaporation, so it concentrates sugar, acidity, and flavour. The wines here become intensely sweet. They're rich, they're concentrated, but they're balanced by acidity. Sweetness must be balanced by acidity to avoid becoming cloying. Because much of Bordeaux is relatively flat, machine harvesting is common here. But this doesn't automatically mean low quality. Many producers use optical sorting technology to carefully select high-quality fruit after harvest. This allows efficiency while still maintaining quality standards. Bordeaux winemaking often focuses on structure, complexity, and aging. Oak aging is very common, especially for premium wines. Oak helps soften tannins, integrate acidity, stabilize structure, and increase complexity. New oak contributes cedar, smoke, vanilla, toast, spice, and clove aromas and flavours. For WSET Level 3, Bordeaux is about understanding climate variability and human response. So examiners want you explaining why blending matters, why Cabernet Sauvignon grows on gravel soils, why Merlot dominates cooler soils, why humidity creates disease pressure, and why Semillon is important in sweet wines. The strongest answers always connect climate, soil, grape, winemaking, and wine style. So our final takeaways for Bordeaux: maritime climate, the vintage variation, blending, and soils. This is what shapes Bordeaux. Cabernet Sauvignon succeeds on warm gravel soils because gravel improves drainage and heat retention. Merlot succeeds on cooler clay soils because it ripens earlier and more reliably. Blending balances ripeness, tannin, acidity, and vintage variation. And Bordeaux's combination of climate, soils, and blending creates some of the world's most age-worthy wines. Now, to finish this session, we're going to look at what learning science tells us about studying better. So last time we talked about retrieval practice, the idea that real learning happens when you pull information out of your memory, not just look at it. So today we're going to take the next step, and here's the key idea. Forgetting is not failure. It's actually part of how learning works. Now, I know that sounds strange because most of us think, if I forgot it, I mustn't have learnt it properly, or I'm just bad at studying. But neuroscience tells us something very different. Your brain is constantly deciding what to keep and what to let go. So if information isn't revisited, the memory trace weakens. This became famous through something called the forgetting curve. So researchers discovered that we forget information surprisingly quickly if we never return to it. And honestly, that's completely normal. Your brain is not failing, it's filtering. Imagine if your brain kept every shopping list, every random phone number, or every ad jingle you've ever heard. It would be chaos. So forgetting is actually part of how the brain stays efficient. But here's the exciting part. When you revisit information, just as you're beginning to forget it, you strengthen that memory dramatically. And that's called spaced repetition. And it's one of the most effective study strategies we have. So let's bust a myth. The myth is, if I forgot it, I failed. No, forgetting creates the opportunity to retrieve, and retrieval is what makes learning stronger. So forgetting's not your enemy, it's the invitation. So here's your experiment for this week. Instead of studying something 3 times in one night, space it out. Try this. Day 1, learn the topic. Then close your notes and test yourself. Another time, come back and try again. Don't look at it. Try and retrieve everything that you can remember. Then the next day, do it once more, even if it feels harder, especially if it feels harder, because that's the effort and that's where the learning happens. So this works whether you're learning a language, science, wine, history, exam content, or even a new skill. The brain loves spaced retrieval. So here's your reflection challenge. Am I studying to remember this or to remember it next month? because real learning is not about keeping information alive for an hour or a day or a week. It's about building memory that lasts. So see you next week for another Study Smarter tip. Thank you for listening to Study Smart. If you're ready to take your wine education to the next level, why not visit the Italian Wine Academy at italianwineacademy.org. Don't forget to tune in next week when we'll be exploring another important wine region. Until then, chin chin with the Italian wine people.